fellow YouTubes, this is Nomad, your source for unconventional knowledge and answers to your existential thoughts and questions. And today I want to go back to something I said in my first video, where I said I was going to try to remain as honest and transparent as possible. And that's what I really want to emphasize in this video. And I really want to do that by just saying the experience that I've been going through recently in my life, and that I'm not trying to just be some spiritual mentor that has all of the answers, that I'm like, okay, this is how it is, when really that's not the case at all. I don't have all of the answers. I just hope that I can provide you with some sort of clarity in your own life by showing you that I too am just a human being trying to navigate his way through this world that is at times very unfamiliar and uncomfortable, and revealing to you how flawed and imperfect I am, that I don't try to come to you as some saint. And that just sheds light on how beautifully imperfect we all really are. And I think if we all just try to stop pretending like we have all the answers, and that we accept that we're just imperfect human beings, then maybe we can start living a more happy and fulfilling life together. So I've been on this spiritual journey for what seems like a lifetime now, and for such a long time I was just so obsessed with trying to identify with my higher self, trying to achieve some level of higher consciousness in my daily life. And no matter how hard I would try, I started eating vegan, I cut out caffeine, cut out sugar, and try to just cut out every source of negative energy in my life. I would always come back to the same imperfect human being. And a lot of times I would get really frustrated, because I would think, well, I'm doing this now, I'm practicing these pure and holistic practices, I'm doing yoga, I'm meditating, and I shouldn't have these feelings of depression and doubt and whatever kind of demons that you face. Like, I'm better than this. Why should I have to suffer through this now that I'm engaging in these kinds of higher consciousness practices? And that's all that they really are. They're just practices. And I think of a lot and hear the cliche, it's not about the end destination, it's about the journey. And I've really only taken that to heart recently, but that's really true. It's not about doing it to be a better person in a sense. It's about doing it just to enjoy it. And that's really all that they are. It's just a practice. You're not doing yoga and meditating so that you can be some all-powerful spiritual being, because all you're doing at that point is just inflating your own ego. So that kind of reminds me of a quote by one of my favorite spiritual teachers, Alan Watts. And I'm gonna butcher this so bad, but basically he says that there are criminals on the ground floor of a tall building, and when the moral police come in, the criminals run up to the second floor, and the moral police chase them up, and criminals keep going up a floor every time, and the moral police are just chasing them. So it's kind of a metaphor for, and this is how I personally have always interpreted it, is when the moral police come in, then you identify with a higher level of consciousness, and that's just your ego is like, well, as soon as you dissolve all of your attachments on a lower level of consciousness, a lower vibration, then you just identify with the next level up, and all you're doing is just scaling up your ego. And then I would always be like, well, okay, well, obviously I don't want to do this to just inflate my ego. Wait a minute, who's saying that? That's just my ego talking. That's just my ego not wanting to be ego. And then you kind of think, well, if I'm just doing this just to elevate my ego up another level, then what's the point? The whole point of this is to not identify with your ego. The whole thing is just a big illusion circle on itself anyway. And really, it comes back to the saying, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And you really just have to do it just because you want to do it. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no ultimate goal. You're not going to achieve some kind of Zen superpower enlightenment or anything. It's just to be. And I feel like I gotta say again, don't take anything I say as an absolute truth. This is just my current interpretation of everything that's happening in my life. Maybe it can help you too, maybe not. But heck, if it's not gonna help anybody if I just keep it all bottled inside. And that goes for everybody, you know, we're all going through some sort of identity or existential crisis. I think it'll take a lot longer if we all just keep this all bottled up inside of us and pretend like nobody else is going through the same sort of thing. So I think it's a fundamental part of being alive and existing in this world and universe, is going through trying to figure out who I am and what am I doing here and what can I do here. If we encourage each other to talk more openly about these more or less taboo subjects, I think it'll create a greater sense of community and connection through everybody. A big part of that is just admitting that we're all human, just accepting everybody else's flaws and imperfection, and realize that we are imperfect beings, and that's what really makes us beautiful. And that makes me think of another lesson by another one of my favorite spiritual teachers, Ram Dass. And so Ram Dass had this story, which I'm probably going to butcher a lot again, but basically the gist is he was having a conversation with this being that he called Emmanuel, and he was asking Emmanuel, well, what am I doing here? What is my purpose? Why am I here? And Emmanuel replied to him, well, have you tried taking the curriculum? Have you tried being human? And Ram Dass said that he always thought the path to enlightenment was always denying your humanity and embracing your divinity. That's just so full of wisdom, that the fact that you have to accept what you are. One of the big things that the yin yang teaches us, it's really all about balance. You're not going to really be fulfilled if you have too much of one thing. You're not going to, you really need to accept your humanity. You're both a spiritual being and a human. You're a spiritual being having a human experience, and you are both of those things together. You're not more of one than the other. It's all just a big balance. The more I tried to push away all of the negative energy in my life, the harder and harder it became. It was like I was holding up this entire reservoir of negative energy, and it was this creating a big difference. The more I tried to be pure and meditate longer and do more yoga and eat less unhealthy foods, it was like I was just holding back so much of this negative energy that was just like a huge wave that was just waiting for me to break. Eventually it did break, and I realized that I'm just one man, and I cannot defeat a whole army of demons by myself. And that's why I'm here today. I'm showing you that I'm imperfect. I'm flawed. I'm not afraid to admit that. And I hope you aren't either, because I think the sooner we all admit that we're not perfect, then the more that we can enjoy each other's company. Because if we're not here to be together, then why are we really here? Honestly, like, that's the one thing I just keep coming back to, is just we're here to be together, to enjoy each other's company. Which reminds me of another quote, and I don't know where this originally came from, but where I heard it from was one of my favorite channels on YouTube called Psych Substance. He said that the only thing worse than not existing is existing and not having anybody to share it with. So yeah, that's just kind of where I am. So just stop trying to be so perfect and enlightened and a pure being. You're human. We're all human. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's one of the beautiful things. That is the most beautiful thing about being us. If we're all perfect, that just always makes me think of being a robot. It's like our society is just so obsessed with being perfect that we're literally making things that are perfect. And nobody likes the way that future looks. We're afraid of AI taking over everything. And every time something automated comes along, it scares us. I wonder why. Maybe because deep down we like being imperfect, and we realize that that's the true meaning of life. But what do I know? I'm just human. Just one small slice of perception on this infinitely large and beautiful world. This is Nomad. Be excellent to each other, and namaste.